Selectboard in Woolwich.
Tony Davis, Selectboard Woolwich.
We skipped over.
Kim Dalton, Town Administrator for Woolwich.
Hi, I'm Henry McFerrin. I'm Assistant Director for Maintenance and Operations for Maine DOT.
I'm Jack Shaw, the road commissioner in Woolwich.
Lisa Hewitt, I am the Select Board member from Dresden.
Andy Victor, I'm the Director of Results and Information Office at Maine DOT.
Megan Russo, Director of Government Affairs.
Okay.
Before we get started, do we have a password for the Wi-Fi, just in case there's questions?
Oh,
We do. Do we,
do you have it on your?
the Woolwich one? I did.
I don't know if it's that.
I do.
It's like a very long.
It is, but I can see it under Woolwich, and I click it, and then I
Okay.
show it, and Face ID is that one.
Yep.
So I'll tell you what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna screenshot it.
Because it's a very
I'm gonna screenshot
complicated
it.
password.
I need the number. Oh, can I text it to you?
Sure.
It's easier, because it's very complicated.
It's very complicated. That's good.
249-7110.
207-249 what?
7110.
110. Add number, what's your name again?
Andy.
This is not good that you did this.
I know, because you're recording this and putting it out there, so now
He's
my
got-
phone-
he's got your cell phone.
It's not live streamed yet.
It's got your number.
All right.
You may use this as leverage too.
Wow.
Silent. Yep, it works.
Everybody has my cell phone number, so
I know.
every legislator in the state, and they call it all hours. So
Here it comes. So it's very weird.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
you
no
should get
problem.
where it goes. You should get it.
Yeah, I just
Allison will be here
want
in
to be
10.
able to answer questions if they come up.
You do realize when Allison comes, we have to start over. You deal
Said
with
she'll be
Allison
here in 10.
yeah, oh yeah.
quite a bit.
Yeah. So you guys wanted this meeting, so
We do.
we'll let you kick it off.
Well, I guess, you know, we're very concerned with the condition of the Middle Road, Route 127. I know you guys have it designated as a minor collector road, but it's a minor collector road that takes about half the workforce of Maine's largest employer in there every day. And those 15 passenger vans come flying down that road 70 miles an hour, and the sides of that road are getting pretty well beat up. And the big problem we have here in Woolwich, in our section, there's a quite a long section, has nothing to do with DOT, but there's quite a long section where the cell phones don't work. And we had an accident, somebody went off the edge of the road last fall, and they had to walk about 2 miles before they could get a signal to get any emergency vehicles or anything to them, you know. And you know, the road's really in deplorable shape, so.
Right. So what it's done is, the road is in poor shape, and obviously we all know, and you've driven it, and we know that it's planned for next year for some light capital paving.
Mhm.
We know that's done every 7 or 8 years or whatnot.
7, yep.
7 years, okay.
Generally.
Dave Allen has informed us of all the, municipal partnership programs and
Yep.
that sort of thing. Woolwich has no money, and we're not interested in getting into that. I don't
Okay.
think, I'm speaking for Dresden, I don't think they are either.
No.
Okay.
But what's happening is, many of our calls, our EMS fire calls, accident calls, it puts a lot of strain on our local services going to these accidents and crashes and that sort of thing. What we're wondering is, and the reason we brought this up, we know you're not gonna do a full reconstruction of the road.
Mhm.
I think you'd all agree the road should be rebuilt, realigned, we talked about shoulders, all these things, and I guess none of that's gonna happen, or it's not in the works.
Mm.
What I don't understand sometimes is maybe that road needs to be paved more often than the 7 years. In other words, the 7 years seems to be one size fits all, and so what.
For that priority of a road.
Right,
Yes.
but what started it with us though is we look at some of the other roads of the similar priority that
Mhm.
probably could have waited another year or two to get paved, but our road has a lot of usage, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
So if that road had been overlaid, 3 years ago, we wouldn't be here today.
Mhm.
But we do well, so next year they'll pave it, it'll be fine for 2 or 3 years, still curvy and bumpy and all that. But then, as we get to the tail end of that period, the road gets really poor. Dave came down to a meeting for the Water District project, and he even said, geez, that's northbound lane, there's not even much of it, we went over there and everybody's all trying. And it's just, we plow it, I plow the road myself, personally, and it's just we get a lot of complaints, it's unsafe, the lane widths aren't consistent in places. Clearly the edges of the shoulders are eroded because folks leave the road. And many of the accidents happen because of that. They get a tire caught, they get pulled out into the ditch and that sort of thing. My question to Dave has always been, we get this whole reconstruction thing, we're in the construction business, I understand it, but maybe it can't go 7 years all the time. You know, it's just a thought, I'm just, you know, the minor collector status seems to encompass a broad range of road usage from what we can understand. What I mean is, if that's a minor collector road, we know it's a state aid road, right?
So shared responsibility, yep.
Right, and we do, we follow,
Yep.
but
Yep.
if 218 is the same status, coming out of Wisconsin, but it has shoulders,
Where's 218?
218 is Federal Street, we've Wisconsin, goes up
Runs
to
up the Whitefield.
all the Whitefield, goes through
Oh,
all the
okay,
first
yeah.
way to go.
Yep.
That road to us doesn't have as much traffic as our road, but yet it's way better configured than our road. You know, 2, 3, 4 foot shoulders, you know, that sort of thing. When you guys strike the road out here, we lose the white line in well, many times you can't paint the white line. It's going
So
over.
the gravel.
Yeah, it's out on the gravel and then it goes back on the pavement. So we're just trying to see, you know, we're getting a lot of complaints and
Yep.
and we're just trying to figure out what, we don't have enough money to take care of our roads, right?
Yep.
So we understand that process.
Yep.
But we just, go ahead.
I spent several years working part-time and sometimes full-time for a paving contractor, and to put 5/8 of an inch of pavement down there, within 6 months, the cracks that were there before are coming back. You know, it doesn't take any time at all. I mean, part of the solution might be to one time give it 1.5 inches of hot top or something, you know, or maybe do less of the road, but do it, you know, a little bit thicker so that it'll last a little bit longer. I mean, 5/8 of an inch of hot top, you might as well take some Sears weather beater up there and paint it black, you know, I mean, it's in a very short amount of time, you're gonna have the same cracks, the same potholes and everything, it's just gonna come back.
Are there other roads that are a step up that get addressed sooner than the 7 years?
No.
So the next classification, Allison had mentioned that you guys wanted to hear about or find out how we classify roadways.
Right.
The next classification, so if we were to bump up this priority 4 road to a priority 3, those types of roads, those classification of roads get pavement every 10 years.
Really?
They just get a bit thicker of a layer of pavement.
But I will say, the last couple of years, they look pretty much just like 127 does.
Yeah.
So you may be reducing that interval, but the one nice thing, and first of all, I'll start out, we manage about 4,200 miles of priority 4 road through the light capital pavement program. So that's 5/8 of an inch, but it's 5/8 of an inch over 4,200 miles.
Yeah.
And we do that for about $50,000 a mile every 7 years. So that's the program that's available outside the MPI for a priority 4 road. If you go up a step, we have what we call cyclical pavement resurfacing. It's going to get you about 3/4 of an inch with a shim layer. So you could correct some of those things potentially, but you're certainly not going to correct,
Right.
you know, your quarter point out issue that we have out there. And that's very typical for almost all priority 4 roads. That's what we see as a failure mechanism, is that quarter point out issue.
So when you do this light 5/8 surface, do you take care of the shoulder work and do the ditching and everything necessary?
So we're scheduled to do some of that this year. We try to do it the year before, get out there and ditch, do some shoulder grading, take winter sand off, that sort of thing, to get it in shape for paving treatment.
And I can speak to that if you'd like. On the schedule for this year is about 2,500 linear feet of excavator ditching. This is just on 127. 160,000 feet of grader ditching. There's some entrance pipes that are scheduled for replacement, and I apologize, I don't have the exact location of those. 2 cross pipes. And that's under work request 46-427 of the work plan. That has a value of about $200,000.
Could you give me that number again,
Work request is 46427.
and that's something we can find on your website?
Yes.
In the
Because
work
I
plan.
couldn't write that quick.
Yeah. We saw on the work plan, you had 128 scheduled for $200,000 worth of work, 127 for $200,000
Yeah.
roughly, of ditching and culvert work and that sort of thing. The difficult part is it's hard to understand, or for me anyway, to comprehend it all. I understand the classification of roads, but they're not all really equal in some way when it comes to traffic usage.
Right. I mean, I think when you look at the entire system, you know, we start out with priority one. It's a national highway system. It's your Route 1s, it's your Interstate 95s, you know, 302s. Roughly, let's just call it the U.S. routes. Not all of them even reach that status, but it's a national highway system. Route 9, the airline down to Calais. Those sorts of roads are priority one. Priority 2s are your Route 17s, you know, Augusta, Rockland, those sorts of roads.
202 probably.
202, right? Lewiston to Augusta is a 2 in this region. Route 27, Augusta to Wiscasset, that's a 2. So that's one thing. 127 is a parallel road to Route 27. Does it come out in the same place? No. But from a network standpoint, you have 2 high priority roads connecting Augusta and the mid-coast area. Yeah. So that's one thing. And a 3, you know, when we classify a 3, we're looking for it to connect the destination or 2 higher priority roadways. So in this case, you could make the argument that 127 connects 27 and 1, except those 2 things already connect each other. So that's really not. And I'm just giving you a little background from the network.
And I don't know that you want to extend to 10 years, even with a
No.
bigger layer.
So, and priority 4 is that's the most variability we have, because you go 1, 2, 3, and everything else.
Right.
So you could have everything from 200 vehicles a day to, you know, in southern Maine we have some that are 6,000 or 7,000 cars a day.
Yeah.
And the southern section of 127 has about 4,000. But that's after 128 and 127 come together. So it's, you know, you're squarely in that priority 4 range, and you know, I think what 127 has the unique characteristic that it does carry that commuter traffic heavily. It's not fully in the traditional mode of a minor collector, because
No, it isn't.
it does.
Is there any consideration thought of to grinding it and picking up a foot or so on each side?
So
Put
prior
2.5
to,
inches on it?
so prior to the last LCP 6 years ago, it was milled down.
Mill, not ground.
Yes.
No, truck.
You mean full reclamation?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So fully reclamation of the road,
And add some material to it, flatten it back out again and get it going?
That's the right treatment.
Yeah.
but it's not gonna happen.
The funding isn't there to do that
So
on this priority system. And the other thing that hampers us a little bit on 127 is it is classified as a minor collector. It's not eligible for federal funding.
So no safety grant, no safety improvements?
Safety money could be used, but you can't reconstruct an entire corridor.
But can
Safety
we
money.
get-
You can do spot places.
Can we get some shimming, paving, and shoulders?
You know, for safety funding, you have to have a demonstrated high crash location. So I'm not sure whether there's any on one.
I was told quite a while ago, I don't know, maybe it was David Allen, that I know, we've been doing this stuff, involved a long time.
Yep.
5/8 of an inch of hot top is just politics. Rideability is all it does. There's no strength whatsoever.
Correct. Nobody's
So-
arguing that.
They get you a couple of years and then we're back. And that's that, then it goes back to the frequency thing. So under the, who determined the 7-year, as we said a minute ago, you know, one side of the house needs to be painted more often than the other side because it doesn't get any sun, right? So
Yep.
who determines that? There's why
It almost adds flavor to the problem because then you've got a deeper lip of hot top
yeah,
that drops on the ground.
yeah.
But what if we approached it from a traffic management point of view, like slow it down? Would that help make it last longer? If the speed limit was like 40 instead of 45? Or?
Was BIW traffic?
I know you've seen the gates open down there at 3:30. You're not
Yeah.
slowing those
And
folks down.
you can set a speed at anything, and they're gonna,
Yeah.
people will travel
They
at
go 60.
They're
At which
just
they-
gonna hit the high point,
I think-
no matter what the speed limit is.
Yeah.
I mean, it would help the safety of the road likely if people went the actual speed limit, but I'm sure they're doing more than the speed
Yeah.
limit out there. And if, once it's hot topped, they'll go
Oh,
faster.
we know.
The difficult part when you look at historically at this whole state aid road, I mean, I did a bunch of research on this, and my father, our company's been involved in, 75 years of the roads around here, but when you look at that, it looks like wherever you ended up is where you ended up. So what I'm saying is some roads are built a little wider lanes, some shoulders, whether they're 2-foot big shoulders, whatever, and they're still under that status. So whatever we end up, let's say it was in the 60s or whenever things change some, that what we have is what we have. You know what I mean? So yeah, you patch holes, you'll fix them.
Here, you want me to go over there? Here, I'll scoot over next time there.
Thank you, sorry.
But we're obviously in a difficult spot here. Route 1, yes, it's accidents, detour traffic. At one point this year when the road was flooded on Route 1 down here, this past winter, it was 4 or 5 hours that traffic was on 127. And the lane widths aren't consistent. We have varying lane widths and traffic. Two trailer trucks can't even stay on the pavement in certain areas of the road when they meet. Front tire goes off here and there. I mean, I don't know. We're frustrated.
And we do have accidents on the Dresden side of the house.
Yeah.
So to me, it is a safety concern. And luckily, we haven't had the fatality that constitutes, but there are people that get hurt.
So did Dave talk to you about the BPI program, Business Partnership Initiative?
Yeah.
I mean, unfortunately, I really don't see anything more substantial happening unless there's other players in the mix.
And there's no consideration for this one-size-fits-all time frame thing. I keep bringing it up there. Because like I say, there are certain minor collector roads where they could go 10 years, and there are certain minor collector roads that can't go past 6 years.
I mean, I think because we have so many miles of priority 4 roads, and they get into a system, right?
Yeah.
Like this year, how many will we be paving? I mean, they're not all the same every 7 years, right? They're staggered. That
We do 650 to 700 miles a year.
Right, but you must consider coming out of winter. Somebody must look at roads and say, okay,
We do.
We came out of winter. We had a horrible winter, horrible spring, wetter, colder
We do.
frost, and say this road is breaking up or this road is changing. You've got spots on the middle road that they were way out.
So what I would put out there is, coming out of winter, the regions all look at, they all see the roads, right?
Yeah.
They all know the roads that are not holding up as well as they should be. They're out there, right? But folks, I've got to tell you, what you have here is a above average 6-year LCP road.
I'm driving over them.
Yeah.
It looks like it's in year 6. There's roads that are in year 6 that are much worse than what you have there.
So when you say much worse, you're talking about
Like actual deep crevice potholes that, that road to me is, yes, it's cracking, right? It's not a smooth ride, but not once did I see and if there had been, it looked like our region had been out to fill, because there was some spots that looked like they'd been out to treat.
just recently though.
Yeah, but this is the time of year that they would be out after storm cleanup and,
You might have noticed the new culvert that was put in. Obviously, you folks put in that, right?
Yeah.
Now that's what we wish the road was. It's like you have 11 or 12-foot lanes with 2 or 3 or 4 foot shoulders in, right?
Right.
But then you stop the erosion. You don't have
See,
traffic weaving.
By that, we know you know how to do it.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
trust me, I went to school to be an engineer.
Yeah.
Nowhere in engineering school did
Wonderful
they teach me
job.
to have priority 4 roads.
No, right. Or
Yeah.
5/8 maintenance. No,
But,
right.
and I will say 5/8 of an inch is nominal. So
Obviously, the road,
we allow like 550 to 600 tons a mile, and if you spread that over a typical roadway, you typically get someplace close to 5/8 of an inch.
but
That's-
these old roads, way back when they were built, and we have them in our town as well, they were not designed for the weight of the traffic that we have today. So what we did, we've all done it, just as fast as we can pave one, tire it, back when I was a kid,
Yeah.
we got it black, okay? And but then that doesn't do anything for the material underneath it.
Correct.
That's what's causing the cracking. It isn't the pavement, there's no strength in pavement.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not arguing your point whatsoever.
So that's why I was trying to push into the thoughts of grinding the red up, adding 6 inches of crushed gravel to it, sticking up a foot or so on each side, put 2.5 inches on.
That's the
Just a
right.
thought. Huh?
No, that's the right treatment.
Yeah.
And
That
if
is
we were
right.
going to improve that
I know it's
road,
right.
we would do that.
So for the money
Something
that,
similar to that. But that cost is in the 1.5 million a mile range.
Exactly.
Wow.
So you're 18 to 20 million to do 127.
Yeah, that's all we care for, it's one.
And you know what? When I go to the next town, that's all they care about too. Unfortunately for
Yeah,
this table,
yeah, yeah.
you know, we're charged with managing the whole state, and I know you appreciate that.
Yeah, no, we understand. So, but back up a minute. So a few years ago on 128, there was a very sharp curve, which is still a very sharp curve, but there was
Yep.
$60, $70, $80,000 come up with by DOT, some safety improvement, to take that corner back some. So I was going down another funding road. Are there ever, is it, you know, it may not be categorically the whole road from 27 to Route 1, but is there any funding or safety improvement funding for the worst areas? There are areas of the middle road where the road's not too
Not bad.
bad and fairly straight line, and you've got some in Dresden, but then you've got some bad ones. You know, and one of the ones that sticks out to us the most is if you go across the Quassa Road and take a left towards the new culvert, as you go down around that curve, we just have constant accidents there. You know, the lanes are narrow in the front
The
tires.
road tips off.
Yeah, you're not gonna find any, you know, necessarily death statistics.
Nope,
or
I'm
anything.
not.
And did you tell them you plowed
Oh, yeah,
that thing?
yeah, I've been plowing 20 years, yeah.
Well, in our safety office, it's not just deaths that they look at.
No,
So
no.
they anything that's over $1,000 worth of damage, property
You know,
damage,
Oh,
gets reported.
Yeah.
And I mean, you can have a fender bender, and it's $1,000 worth of damage.
I mean,
So
Not on my car.
When you come, you guys,
not
Allison,
on our commissioners.
you know, Allison and I spent one Sunday a few hours out measuring lane widths on
Yeah, yeah.
we got kind of,
So what did you find?
we found it was very inconsistent.
Right, but
I think we, I
You know
know
what?
well, it seemed like we had like 10-foot something, and then some places it was 11-foot. And there was, in the same spot, the lane was narrower, you know, this lane was narrower and this lane are wider.
well, to your point, they're trying to hit some pavement. I think that's the variability. I was concerned that maybe we striped it wider than it should have been.
Well, you can
Yeah,
drive to places
I don't
and
know.
even from the vehicle, see that this lane looks wider than that lane. You know, when you're going north before River Road, you know, I guess the water pipe's kind of gone through there, but when you're going north before 128, you go around the curve by Twassick Lane, the right lane north is narrower than the left lane south. You know, it's just, we just wondered, you know, I mean, we're trying to get what we can.
Well, and on top of that, to the point of narrow and wider, you have the shoulders that have totally eroded. So if you're on the narrow side of the road and you hit that shoulder, you're off. And that's, to me, a concern. We have a lot of shoulder erosion.
And one car accident, so people just going off the road and hitting a tree or whatever, those are not uncommon.
So I don't have the data in front of me.
Or
I
a
think
flat tire.
I think what I can say just from what we've done, and Henry, maybe you can verify this. You know, we've got the thick dash on the high side of the outside of the curves, so we've recognized there's some run off the road issue there because we don't normally do that on a priority 4 or
We
any
have,
road.
we have a
really.
few spots that you
Yeah.
get that.
What is
Yeah.
that? What does that mean?
So when you're going around the curve, the high side of the curve would be the outside of the curve.
Yeah.
If you look at the edge line, there's a normal edge line and then there's skips.
Remember you asked about the
Skip
white
edge
dash?
line.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And that's
yeah,
just to
yeah.
bring,
Yeah.
you know, focus to the driver
Yeah,
that,
yeah,
you know,
Yeah.
don't go off the
Oh,
road
okay.
here, you know, I mean, it's just a visual.
That does
Well,
occur.
besides, another thing that's hurting, in my opinion, is the road has such a crown to it, because it is so beat up, that when you bring your shoulders, as they will after they pave it, they'll bring their material back into it, that any time a traffic gets out there, it comes right back up again. So we lose the shoulder very quickly.
Well, yeah, as you guys know, where you have, let's just say where you have a 2-foot or 4-foot paved shoulder, you have no erosion because people never leave the pavement. So many times grass and stability comes right to the edge of the road, right? Our road, not all of it, but many places, boom, you know, it's scowled out, it's pushed out. You can bring it up, and then before the winter's over, another season, it's you know, traffic's pounded it out because they've had to leave the road. John Chapman, you folks may not know him, but we know him very well. He sent me an email when he saw this meeting, and he said, "Yeah, you know, remind them that many times you meet a truck coming, and you end up, you know, if they're on the yellow line, you leave the road, and you can't blame the truck because sometimes." Some of the curves and some of the lanes aren't wide enough to negotiate a triaxle trailer truck, right, or a tractor trailer. We know you're coming to town next year. We know that then it'll be 7, 8, 6, 7, 8 years go down the road. We wouldn't be doing our jobs if we didn't.
So what you're saying is, to sum this up somewhat, is there really is no other option. Unless we throw some 50-50.
Unless there's
Right,
partnership.
that's
Correct.
bottom line.
Yeah.
Is
That's
that
how we manage that portion of the network is through the 7-year cycle.
And honestly, with a BPI, we don't care where the other 2/3 comes from.
That's what I was gonna ask you, 'cause that's
It doesn't
something I
have
was
to be
not-
the town. If you wanna get businesses, if you wanna get BIW on the hook for, if it is, in fact, that traffic, if they wanted to come to the table and partner with us, they could bring that 2/3. We're in for a third
Okay.
in that program.
Who
Oh,
sets
I thought
that?
it was like that.
No, this is a. this is
No,
another
MPI is, but he
MPI
was
is-
mentioning that the town didn't wanna put any money.
Right,
towards it,
MPI,
so-
MPI is municipal business, BPI is business, so
Yes.
if BIW ponied up, $5 million right now,
Yeah.
for Middle Road, but who sets the terms on that? In other words, who dictates what that costs? It's DOT, right?
No, I think it becomes, like in an MPI, it's actually the town's project. We just give you money.
We
Town.
actually reimburse.
So I think it's similar for a BPI. I don't think we take leadership of the project.
No.
Our,
But the
our
business-
contribution is,
But the business wouldn't either. I mean,
I mean, I think probably the town would have to step up and negotiate
Yeah.
the project or administer the project. You have more, you're used to doing that more than BIW would be.
Well, and just to give you an example of ones that we've done in the past,
That was my
Poland
next
Spring,
question.
Poland Springs has entered into a BPI a number of years ago on Route 16 from the Dallas area over towards Stratton.
mhm.
Because of the road conditions, they wanted to improve for their
Okay.
trucks
Yeah.
pulling out of the wells. They put cash out and we did the project.
And so it became your, I mean, you managed it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because,
yeah.
just
Yeah.
because they didn't have the experience.
Yeah.
Trafton Road off of the interstate, off of 95, that was a BPI, that new
With what,
interchange.
with what
In
company?
Waterville.
What is the company
It was
there?
a developer for the industrial park
Yeah.
in
Okay.
Waterville.
I just recently went to Vermont, picked up a piece of equipment I bought down there, and I noticed when we get up almost to the New Hampshire border, there's miles and miles and miles of main roads up there being totally rebuilt. How do those people get it
It's
done?
called
You
the
must have
southern
been up-
extremity of Maine.
Yeah.
You're on 302?
Yeah.
And 302's National Highway System Priority 1 roadway. And
We
you
changed the
see-
number? We changed it?
We could put up.
Could
Yeah.
we make it 302-1?
Yeah.
No,
We're 695,
695,
yeah.
sounds better, 695.
And then we keep that. Yeah.
Wow, huh. So back to this frequency thing, I can't keep hammering that home, right?
that's
Again,
not-
if the
that's-
road,
yeah.
if the road had been overlaid 2 years ago, even though it's still be the same width and whatnot, it would be, and I get all your explanations, but I still think that not, one size doesn't fit all for that category. I think that, and I don't argue that some roads may be worse, but they may have less traffic too. When we travel around the state, we get what you're saying. If, 1,200 cars a day drive 127, it's not a big deal. But we have thousands of cars, and then we have shutdowns on Route 1, and it's in my lifetime, there's never been anything but Route 1 in those roads, right? So they're very heavily used in the summertime. They're very heavily used. This morning there was an accident right already, but Taste of Maine and shutting traffic down, and 127 becomes the
Yeah.
de facto bypass, So even the volumes aren't necessarily 100% accurate because there are many days when there are spikes. The average may be fine when you measure, but we're just here to tell you what we know.
Well, there's more two, but two major things that hurt the road is the volume and the excessive speed. And you'll be there, 3:30, 4:45 this afternoon?
You don't wanna be.
Yeah, and you watch them go through there,
Oh, yeah.
and they're going like a military to hell, and they're going off the edges, and they're doing everything they can do. I know you improve it, they're gonna go faster, but
Well, that's actually, one of the things I remember when I was first tackling some of the stuff, and it seems, and I think one of your safety people said, narrower roads, actually, or
Slow
even the
traffic
appearance
down.
slows traffic down.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, that's.
Not this
so how
much.
do you- Yeah.
It does, but then there's the
Yeah.
flip side.
I know.
Unfortunate thing is
Yeah.
our roads get narrower unintentionally.
Yeah.
Okay. But like Jack was saying, on a Friday afternoon around 3:35, 3:40, if you're driving less than 20 miles an hour over the speed limit, you're gonna get run over.
So what I hear you saying is you have an enforcement issue.
Yeah.
No, there is that.
It's an enforcement
Yeah.
issue, but it's also, you know, I mean, it's human nature. You can post that road for whatever you want, but those guys wanna get home. They got the
As an
weekend
enforcement
plan, and they
issue.
wanna get home.
Well, it is an
Well,
enforcement
well,
issue,
it
but
is.
it's-
Flying off.
It is, but if you flip that around and you say the road's posted at 45, which it is after you leave behind Cumberland Farms, if you go to some of these areas and you meet a trailer truck coming down through with a trailer dump and you're going 45 and you're like, oh geez, and you don't have, and people do, this getting off the road thing is a big problem. We have some straightaways in Dresden and Woolwich where, sure, you can see way ahead, you can tell it's pretty safe, and sometimes there's even some shoulder, right, you know? But I go back to these, you know, I know when I'm plowing, you know, when I'm plowing and waiting and whatever, and you get down around that one curve, or there's another one on the north end of Old Stage Road, there's the one up by Frank Carley's Wood, right? You know, it's near the gully where you folks are gonna be replacing a structure next year. There's a very sharp curve and the road's 45 and they come up over the top of the hill and they probably aren't always speeding, but it's very narrow. There's a hole, there's a road, there's no shoulder, and all it takes is
There is very, very little room for the inexperienced driver on that road. You know, people that have driven 100,000 million miles can usually cope with this kind of a thing. But some of the younger people, some of perhaps the older people, don't include me. It is challenging, and there are going to be some problems.
Is this road qualify for federal infrastructure funding at all?
Because it's a,
It's a minor
right,
one.
prior to four.
Minor.
So all those big grant programs, federal grant programs are not something that you bring
By and large, correct.
to.
the status you speak of though outside of federal is done by the state, right? And there's a state.
The highway corridor priority is done by the state.
Right.
Right. So the
Functional
state's
classification is a federal,
Right, right. So minor collector,
Yeah.
minor collector status is the state.
is a federal.
It's a federal,
Classification.
and it's done by just volume.
No, it's done by that network law.
What you said.
Same as highway corridor priority, but frankly, we picked that up because we didn't always agree with federal functional class, and it's easier to communicate a priority, 1, 2, 3, 4, as opposed to other freeway and expressway urban. What,
Right,
you know,
right.
I'm not
Yeah.
sure that you're
I
gonna know.
don't wanna explain that.
Yeah, you know, or
Yeah.
minor arterial, you know, it's,
So let's back up to the safety thing again. How do we, you know,
So-
in my lifetime, I've seen 127 in Rouseck, in Georgetown. You know, remember when they went down, there was, you remember when the sergeant built
Sergeant built it, yeah.
that whole west curve and it was very dangerous and whatever, and they came through and realigned the road. Years ago with state aid roads, the state highway commission, if you will, or even DOT, I don't know if it's DOT then, but they would come and take out and realign some things.
yep, that still happens.
So how do we get,
So the way you qualify for safety funding, federal safety funding, is you have to be a high crash, what's termed a high crash location. And we looked at the last 3 years, and for a light roadway, there's a statewide average crash rate. You have to be higher than that statewide average, and you have to have 8 crashes within the 3-year period. And it's not the entire road, it's
right.
specific sections
Well,
of
we
road.
definitely have had more than crashes in that area.
Yeah,
So even what do you call it, singular vehicle crashes now?
Reportable crash.
So more than.
Which is over $1,000.
Yeah,
Well, it's 2,000 now, right? And they.
whatever it is, yeah, is reportable.
But
Wow.
the Rouseck, the one that going into Rouseck though, I think that's what kicked that in,
Yeah.
because it wasn't very bad.
Yeah, I think there's some deaths there, but I know that the curve by the marsh or wetland area, there's all, you know.
So
Yeah.
eligibility wise, that's what it takes.
Okay.
But then
Yeah.
we have to look at how much it costs to improve it and what safety benefit you're gonna get. So if you've had 8 property damage only crashes, those are worth X amount of dollars. The improvement is worth X amount of dollars.
The cost of the town for emergency services.
Right, so if
It's
those
not,
eight,
yeah.
if those 8 accidents total up to $8,000 in repairs, and it's gonna cost $250,000 to make an improvement,
Right.
is it worth
The
it?
cost benefit analysis.
Yes.
So, but we'd be encouraged to look into those kind of things?
There, I'm looking.
You gonna
There's
start
no
taking
high
my
crash
cars and
locations
running
on
them off the
127.
road?
There's none?
No, not currently.
There's none, you said, I'm sorry. I
No,
missed that.
Correct. No.
What
I
did you,
can't believe that area by the wetland, they go off there 8 times a winter, but.
I mean, in Rouseck?
No, I mean, over on our road,
Oh,
you know, from the lower end of the faucet down, you know, the curve
oh,
is, they always go
yeah,
around.
yeah.
So
They
you
go
you
on
can see that on that viewer. That's
Yeah,
a
and I
nice
can
spot.
see historic too. There's nothing
but my phone just
There
died.
is just a
Very confusing.
section down where it connects to 128.
Yeah, that's it, yeah.
That was a while ago. It's not currently a high crash location. It was in 15 and
Is that where the new
16.
blink, there's like a blinking light
No.
that wasn't,
No.
that looked new on my travel?
No,
It was like a yellow blinking light
Where was
No, there's no blinking light on.
on what, 97, what I
Oh,
drove?
Oh,
197,
yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
That's
It's
it.
Dresden,
That's
it.
yeah.
Yeah,
And we have crashes, I mean, I think even Barbara could attest to that, right on the Indian Road, we're constantly, people,
I believe it on the Indian Road.
it is, it,
Yeah, they drive like.
driving right
Oh,
into
you mean
somebody's.
the four-way intersection?
Yeah.
Hatches
So it's
Park.
definitely a safety issue
And
there.
some on tape, but not reported probably, because there's probably drinking involved.
Yeah.
They just keep going.
Yeah.
You just got some new
David,
signs in, right?
David
We
has
did, and they've
allowed
already
me to
taken
take
them out.
Yeah.
Not DOT, the public, right?
The public.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
then
you
we
just
put it
got
back
them,
in.
just 2 or 3
Yeah.
weeks ago, right?
Yeah.
2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we all watched in Woolwich the video of the vandalism of the signs
Yeah,
from the.
So-
the-
So basically, we're where we were when we started the meeting.
yes.
I mean,
We
that
didn't
amount
gain
of-
anything, no ground.
We didn't get any rubber on the road this time, did we?
This isn't like my car.
Well, I think I
Well, we appreciate
I hope
that
you
you're coming
gained
down.
a better understanding of
We
the
understand,
context that
yes,
these
I think we understand.
decisions
that.
are made in. It's not that we don't appreciate the situation. It's
We're
not
still
that-
bleeding to death though.
It's not that we don't understand. We do. You know,
Yeah.
we have data on all of these roads. It's that, you know, statewide, we're responsible for 8,800 miles. 4,200 fall into this classification. So,
Of a minor collector road?
of a priority 4 roadway,
A priority
largely
four,
minor
okay,
collectors. But, you know,
Okay.
even if we were gonna set out a priority system, that's not the way we would do it. And we've had to adjust our priority system. You know, it would be maybe more equally balanced, mileage wise. But we have to look at it as, you know, what funding is available. You know, we can take care of 1s and 2s, they're federally eligible, 3s are federally eligible. And then how much state money can we get? And how much can we take care of with the federal money we have? And it's basically that 4 is everything else that we have to take care of with
So
state
that's
money.
only state funds that we use for LCP.
So one of the,
Sorry,
go ahead, no, go ahead.
I was gonna say, okay, so you said that we'd wanna stay a priority 4, we wouldn't wanna go to a 3 because that's every 10 years, but yet you do better paving with a 4, with a 3 than you do a 4.
You do a thicker
Correct.
pavement.
So wouldn't it be a benefit for us to say, let's go to a 4, even though it's 10
You
years?
pick
I
up
don't
a
know,
quarter,
I'm
you pick up a
asking.
quarter.
What's
You
the-
only pick up a quarter.
Is that all you get?
No,
Yeah.
no, in 2 years more do you.
Not even that.
Okay.
And it's-
Quarters, 5/8.
It's an
Oh.
eighth
Because
dimension.
it-
Eighth
let's-
of an inch.
not
So I would
even-
say no.
I'm probably
Thank you.
only 1 or 2 in the room that can remember back to when these were state aid, we had a lot of state aid roads and the state took care of all of them.
Yeah.
Yep. They found a way to pass them back to the
Yeah.
town,
Late 80s, yep.
okay? I mean, I remember very plainly when they were state aid roads. And that cost had to be picked up by the town as well. So it looks to me like this is kind of a hand-me-down
Handoff
Yeah.
more.
Well, yeah, we understand LRAP, we know what we get, they get LRAP, we, you know, it's
Yeah.
not enough to mount a whole lot, you know what I mean, but it's some.
Mm-hmm.
When you look up the law, you're right, you know, 127 is a state aid road, we take care of it in the winter, if we don't do a good job, you can step in and charge the town. I mean, but it also says you're responsible for maintenance. in
And that's
the
our
summer, yes.
maintenance,
And-
and filling the holes and,
Right, but I go back to that frequency thing, I'm gonna keep hammering on that, I don't think that one size fits all. Next year, you're gonna pay 128, and you're gonna pay 127, according to the work plan, am I correct?
Yep.
128 could go another year, could go another 2 years, because the traffic, I don't know about Dresden, but I'm talking about in Woolwich.
Yeah.
128 coming down through Days Ferry is nowhere near as critical as 127 is. And so,
Right.
I can't understand why there isn't some adaptive way.
I think a lot of it is that we have 4,800 miles of road
No, I
in
know.
this classification, that you get it on a schedule,
No, I
right?
know. You paint the wall every June, that's what we do, but that's what I'm trying to
Well,
throw out.
So-
no, I'll just I'll go back to what Henry said earlier, is that we do that on occasion. 127 looks like year 6,
Yeah.
HCP 4. And
So you're
So-
not worried about the condition of 127?
I am worried about it.
But,
No, but you both have said that it looks.
He worries about all roads.
I know, what I meant was, okay, so maybe you said that 127, you looked.
Better than a lot
Better
of
than
them.
a lot of them.
Better than some
And you-
that
you-
I've driven on recently
Right.
that
You-
are in
yeah.
year 6.
It looks typical,
Right.
is how I would say it, or average. So there's some that are worse, there are some that
Right.
are better.
So you said you make
And I've been on
adjustments,
some that are.
right, depending. So, and you also said, I believe what you said is that the federal government determines what is the priority?
The state determines the priority. The federal government determines functional classification.
So what's
So
eligible
I'm
for
flipping back and
functional?
forth.
So if we went functional,
It's a
Can-
minor collector, not eligible for federal funds.
correct, but how can we change the criteria for some P4 roads? I guess is what I'm asking. So we're a minor, but how can we say, okay, state, we're soliciting you to say, we may be minor, but we have this, and this. This criteria proves that we're at the high end of the minor, and we have to have a higher priority than some of the other roads. Can we do that?
Excuse me, what determines the minor or whatever? In other words, is it volume of traffic?
That's part of it. It's
My Lord, we
functionality.
have more traffic on that road
It's
than,
functionality of the roadway within the context of the network. So
I mean, we literally have, I believe we have more traffic on that road than 127.
So what you were saying is you have 2 higher priority roads that connect each other
right.
that could be used in place of 127. So, do you know what I mean? You have
Yeah.
27 that's connected.
So you're saying block it off and let them just use the driveways?
Well, I don't know that we would block it off. but-
No through traffic.
Not through driveways.
Should I just
wait, so what you're saying
You
is,
sure can.
and using the 2 examples that
This
Jason
young lady
mentioned.
has a question.
I'm a young lady, I'll take that any day.
Go ahead.
Can I back you up a bit? So you had this business partnership, you were talking about it in terms of major reconstruction, which is 1.5 million or something.
Well,
now.
I did not say major reconstruction. I said the treatment that we would do on Priority 4 Road, if we were gonna better it,
Yeah.
rehabilitate it, reconstruct it, is 1.5 million. That's not major
Oh,
reconstruction.
okay.
Which is
Route
not much.
1 would get major
That
reconstruction
makes
if
it
it was
even worse.
unbuilt.
But
section.
here's my question, so everybody says the pavement doesn't last very long compared to the 7 years, right? Can business partnerships fund the 2/3 gain, more frequent paving, and of the style you're currently doing, what does that cost compared to your 1.5 for significant improvement, I think?
Yeah, it's 50,000, roughly $50,000 a mile.
So you mean, could a BPI serve to do more frequent skinny mix?
Exactly, that's what I'm asking.
Which is.
Sure.
Yeah.
Because, 1.5,
Yeah.
but if it's 50,000 to repave more often, maybe that's worth it. Now frankly, one of the problems with there's not many places you can pull off the road while they're going, because they're coming in groups off Route 1. And, in the winter, you're dead trying to do that, but even places to turn off.
To let them pass,
Often,
yeah.
but how about that? I mean, maybe that's, with the help of BWI, might be financially viable.
Do the towns have a contact at BIW? No. There's no.
Really.
I don't see that as ever gonna be workable.
We don't have any.
Maybe before
We don't
the
have any,
dynamics.
if you had major trucking, perhaps, or something like that, but just to volume the cars to work at BIW, I don't wanna be a wet blanket, but I
Nobody does.
guarantee it.
They're
I
all
don't
playing
know.
the role.
I just don't know where else you can turn. I mean,
Well,
there doesn't seem to be any options here. It
So
would
what-
have to be a goodwill on the part of BIW. It's not improving their profits or something like that. It would have to be
Your limited
purely a
profits.
goodwill type of.
Based on the way the roads are categorized, maybe the thing to do is to force everyone to take 27 instead of 127 to commute to BIW from Augusta.
But the trouble is with all the problems that happen on these roads, right, with Route 1 shutdowns and
You
flooding
saw,
and traffic.
you saw what happened when
Culvert's
culvert
out.
went bad,
Yeah, right.
and we almost went into a full-blown third country world here.
Right, when it was shut down, they, of course, used our
So-
local roads, and then obviously you folks diverted them onto 128, but then that caused a whole, I mean, it's just crazy. That, right now, like right this minute, the traffic is backed up to Bath Bridge. In the center.
Actually, no, but, not right
No,
now.
I'm correct. From 127, Cumberland Farms,
Yeah.
the traffic right now is backed
All the
up
way back down
to
to
the Bath Bridge,
Bridge.
and they're using the center turn lane as a left-hand turn lane on 127. So right this minute, if you drive out there'll be 3 lanes of traffic going north. And we just, I mean, it's just, something's gonna change, you know, and we understand what you're saying, but, you know.
Help us.
One of the challenges for the frequency
And the gas
issue,
station.
just to get back to
Yeah.
that, because I know you're interested in that, is
Yeah.
the way we do light capital paving is we come in and we do an area.
Yeah.
So that
Yeah.
gains us quite a bit of savings, because we can
Right.
contract, they can set up, they can haul from a specific location. They're paving, you know,
Yeah.
anywhere from 50, 60, 70 miles in one area.
So that keeps
So
it at that
if you
50.
get off, if you get off cycle, now you're
Well, we
outside
do the
the
same
area.
thing.
Now
Yeah, we
there's
do. Last year, we noticed that, 144 got paved all the way down to Westport Island, right? And the road, whatever classification that is, but it's a peninsula, it's.
9 cars a day.
And the road was, we do a lot of road work down there, we do some town road work, the road was great, the road was great before they paved it, and they even have shoulders in places. And so we were like, man, why are they paving this road when they really need to pave that road? And I get what you're saying, and we understand about,
I suppose it would be
I know.
second to next to impossible to pick and choose.
Yeah.
If you started picking, okay, if you pick one,
I'd be at different meetings with
Okay.
different legislators, I'll tell you
Well,
that.
And trust me.
And I'd be saying, well, Allison told me to do it.
None of this reflects you guys, we respect
no,
greatly,
no,
and we know you've got guidelines and so on, but,
I
we
don't
just
take
kind
it
of felt
personally.
like they said there'd be a lady with a red shirt who'd help us out, that's all it's in.
Allison, is this one that you said do it?
The one with the red
Well, then
shirt.
she brought 2 wet blankets with her.
Oh, she talking about the woman from Dresden?
Either one.
What it really boils down to is that there are more than a dozen cities in this country that have more people than the state of Maine. And we're doing how many thousand miles of road?
We have,
And-
yeah, I need
and,
8,800
we're
miles.
taxed to
an
death
hour
as it
position.
is
How
now.
many?
And, it's just hard for a population of 1.3 million people
Mhm.
to support the infrastructure that this state has.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, I appreciate where you guys are coming from, that, I understand that you can't pick and choose, because like you said, you'd be at a different meeting every night.
Mm.
But, I don't know, it's frustrating.
It just sounds like there's nothing we can do, which is, I mean,
Sort of an
kind of at
NPI
the
or
beginning,
EPI,
yeah.
it's a
Yeah.
tough situation.
sort of.
I mean-
with that.
You could, and that's gonna be an uphill battle too, but you could try to slow, make people
Yeah.
go abide by the actual laws on the road.
Lincoln County Sheriff's Department would love that.
Do you hire a sheriff to do, no?
Well, Saginaw County, I guess, would patrol it.
Yeah.
Do they ever, I've never seen anybody get stopped there.
They're there, they're not, I mean.
It's tricky. The whole thing's tricky. Traffic volumes have changed so much too.
Yeah.
They may not be at the peaks to your criteria.
Well, the
but-
cars are bigger,
Right.
wider.
But right now, though, if you drive over there and they're going up Middle Road, if they're going 45, 50, or 55, it's that much volume that has to get through.
Well,
So-
that's what I'm talking about, the unique condensed nature, and that's,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm gonna go home
That
that
is
way,
different.
so I'll see
Yeah.
the traffic.
Well,
Is there,
Well, let's do
gonna
it
miss
right
it.
now, so you can.
is there,
Yeah.
it only lasts like a half hour.
It does.
Oh, then I might miss it
At the most,
entirely.
a half
is
hour.
there
Okay.
any, is there any way,
Oh, that's dead. That one's dead.
is there any way to perhaps elevate the maintenance of it a little bit more? In other words, right now, there's places where you can drop off the pavement that far. I mean, if they brought a grader in and pulled it in and added some material now and then, and
Yeah. Well, when you say that, is there any way to on the maintenance side, not the pavement overlay side, is to do what he's saying, but maybe use, you guys used to come out with graders and hot mix, take it right off the pavement and just on the corners, I mean, things that, we do it in town here, we know that where they leave the pavement, there's got to be some.
Yeah.
Sure.
We
We
have,
would pave that. That would be a Henry
Yeah,
question.
and certainly, as LCP goes through, one of the things that I would ask Dave to look at is those areas where you get that runoff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? You see that often on the sharper corners on the inside where the trailers, primarily the trailers of a tractor trailer run off.
Yeah.
Those are areas where we want to look at and expand where possible. But when you talk about coming out with a grader and laying it down, we try
In other
not
words,
to do
that would
that.
happen when next,
Well,
when
yeah,
you're doing
and
LCP.
that can go negative, positive too, because
Yes.
you go thick and thin.
Yes.
But even if you put a little more time into bringing the gravel back in, and we didn't have that lip is what really worries me.
Yep.
I mean, I drove my truck up to the day before yesterday, and I met some clown up here on before we get into Dresden, and I had to get off the edge. Now I got quite a record for pretty good driving, and this guy put me over the edge. I was empty, but I had to pay pretty good attention
In the
because
dirt.
I dropped down that deep.
Yeah. This is a commercial truck. I mean, he's driving.
It's dump truck,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, I mean, even if it was, I know you guys are stretched thin, we get all kinds of labor, good operators and so on, but if you could bring those edges back in,
I mean, you do a great job when you pave it. So 7 years ago, 6 years ago, whatever.
Yeah,
it was.
and we'll do that.
You know,
Right,
you
we
came
come
in
right
with a-
behind and
Oh,
pull
sure.
up the
Yeah.
You had a maintainer with a grader and a
Yeah.
sweeper, and oh yeah, we understand all that, but then we don't see her again. That's it.
So after we pave, we do
I
put
blame the guy
gravel
that
on the
plows the
side.
road for plowing it all.
Really?
No.
But, no, I have to have 2 plow trucks. An international with a big plow and a wing, and then we have this 550 ring. We had to go down in size because there's not enough pavement.
Right.
So we will be adding gravel after we LCP.
So once we LCP, we will be coming through with a road widener. Typically it's 3/4 gravel that will go out. Standards usually around 18 inches. Sometimes it's narrower, sometimes it's wider, depending on the thickness of the pavement, right? And then of course that gets compacted as we go through. I hear you when you talk about graders and how years ago we had grader operators that was their everyday job. They started at one point and they just continued. And all they did was pull material back. 26 years ago when I started, there was nearly 100 graders statewide. Today, I think there's 16.
when I was a kid, David is probably old enough, they used to have, calm down people, they used to have, the DOT, the State Highway Commission then, had these drags, and they would look behind the dump truck, and they would set off on the shoulder, and they constantly dragged the shoulder, and one blade would bring it in, one would take it out.
Almost like a
And-
snow cat.
Yeah, and they were
Snow.
doing this all the time. They even hired private dump trucks, little trucks, to pull these drags. And so the problem has been around a long time.
So, in thinking about, like, sometimes areas just go bad quickly, right? Whether it's a heavy rain or,
Sure.
a truck or whatever.
Mhm.
What's most helpful for you guys? The reason I asked that is that Georgetown, there were some real serious drop-offs, and they told me, the town told me that, well, we asked if, could we fill it in, because it might be a while before you get down there, and then they could bill you or whatever, and that was not great
No.
too.
Not well.
Yeah, so I guess, yeah, so
The
the question
most
is,
helpful thing that
yeah.
you could do is have the constituents or the customers call us,
okay,
because that gets recorded in the regional offices.
so that's
And
what
if-
I'll.
So if they call the region offices, that notifies, the region manager has an opportunity to know what's going on
I
in
feel
the
like we
field.
went down. Didn't we go
And if
down?
there's repeat
I think, yeah.
customer request that comes in,
Yeah.
they start asking questions.
Yeah.
And, if they're not addressed, then eventually they get to me,
Yeah.
right?
So does that, I love sending daily emails to Megan. I don't know whether she loves it, but.
And I've asked that many times
Yeah.
to different
Yeah.
towns.
Yeah.
If you're getting bombarded by calls from your residents of complaints or customer requests on state roads,
Mhm.
please send them to the region offices.
So
No,
send
I'm
the individual,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
the individual
Yeah.
residents.
Regional.
Yeah, see, they want the complaints, and the more
Yes.
complaints. But
Okay.
we have on our local TV channel right now to contact Bruce Van Note. Is that
Listen, if you try
We
to
actually
call,
have that on our TV channel. It says Middle Road Concerns.
that's why my phone rang.
Contact, yeah, because literally we've
Do
been.
you have a phone number for
Well, we know where he lives. We've been
Yeah, he
bombarded.
is this area.
Yeah, we've been bombarded at town meeting, we've been
Yeah.
bombarded with phone calls, emails.
Yeah.
So send them,
That's the big thing for us, is so many people don't understand that that is a state aid road.
Mhm.
And we get calls all the time.
Sure.
And they say, when are you people gonna do something about that
Sure.
road?
No.
We try to explain to a constituent, it's not our road.
Well, as you know,
We can't put it-
they confuse winter plowing with
Right.
ownership.
Sure.
You know,
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
plow it, so the town takes care of it.
Yeah.
so the individual should contact the region.
Region.
The Region 2 office at 66 Industrial Drive.
Don't give out the radio room number regularly.
I mean,
I don't know that would do you any good.
No, I would agree with you. No, right. We got
I mean,
you.
not for constituent cases.
No, we don't.
They're reviewing the interstate and accidents happening or.
I think we contact the radio room if it's a complete emergency.
Yeah,
Yes,
absolutely.
yes,
That way-
they're at emergency status.
Yes, right.
But if there's individual situations, they write that way it gets logged and, okay.
Is the
So
regional
the
office
regional-
also made aware of wrecks that they might draw attention to spots where there are more likely to be accidents? Is that,
Oh, absolutely. So every
That's
reportable
automatically-
crash is recorded by either the sheriffs, state police, local police. That goes into our database.
So
Like,
that's-
I'm looking at 10 years worth of crash history right now,
Right.
sitting here. And that's available to you guys as well if you want to see it on our map viewer, on our Outlook map viewer.
See, Allison complained about her road, you get that on the payment schedule this year.
I'm gonna, I almost think really you should do the other end because I'm gonna take a lot.
You may, actually. We've had legislators that have,
Yeah, so.
like, we redid a bridge, I'm gonna throw him under the bus, he's not here, but Jeff Timberlake, we redid a bridge that we owned.
Yeah,
And he took, and it's happened to be next to his property,
Yeah,
he
yeah.
took so much crap for that, but it had to
We're
get
gonna
done.
do, the members of the select board that are here will do all we can to protect Allison.
Within reason. Allison, I also, remember last night I told you, these guys, you can't bribe these people.
Yeah.
But you know, the good part is we can take our driveway.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know my driveway's gonna be like this high.
Yeah, we may match the in.
Well,
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks for coming down and at least listening.
It's been enjoyable.
Wine
Yeah.
and,
I do have to say, Allison is representing all of her constituents well, she might be my highest frequent flyer.
Oh, I thought it was Lydia.
No,
No?
you're
Okay.
higher than
Okay.
Lydia,
6
yeah.
times a day, Allison's a lot.
Yeah, I mean, Lydia and I talk,
Yeah.
she's on the committee,
Yeah,
so it's
yeah,
about
yeah.
not necessarily things in her district, but
So,
no, you might be the top.
so you two are quite tight, is that right?
Yes.
Then
For what it's worth.
why we have this meeting?
Unfortunately,
We should have
things,
resolved.
I wanted her to.
unfortunately,
share
things
that.
don't work that way. That,
No.
You know, it's a good thing, and all joking aside, it's a very good thing, she can take a lot of ribbon.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you gotta get some.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. well, she was also my college professor,
Oh, really?
and my husband's. My husband was a history major at UMF, and I have since told Allison that I did his final term paper.
You know,
He turned in. So this is many years after he got the degree. So that's okay. See, I'm being honest. It's just been 20 years later.
Took a while.
Statute of limitations.
Yes.
Can't contest
Well,
this.
one final thought, if there are any programs or anything that comes up, will you please let us know?
Yep.
Even if it's only sections, we want to emphasize in Dresden and Woolwich, you have some sharp curves,
Yep.
Yep.
difficult spots. If there's anything that comes up that they
Would
can,
help us.
$40,000 improvement here, $20,000 improvement here,
Right.
whatever we can.
I wonder on the federal standpoint, Susan Collins and Andrews King are always so quick to take credit whenever BIW gets a new contract. And they can hang trinkets on those contracts all the time. I wonder if there's any way we could contact them and say, look, we've got a real problem getting people in BIW to work.
That would be
That's
so.
not a bad idea.
I'd
So-
be willing to reach out to some.
Are they allowed to spend federal money on that?
They're not allowed to spend federal highway money.
Okay.
But
On my-
But there might be
They
something
could- they
else
could-
that
they
they're
could-
aware of,
They get it
so.
included with the
Yeah.
contract,
Right.
They hang trinkets on
That's
those
the
contracts
BPI.
all the time. There was a outfit down in Wells somewhere that just got a bunch of federal money because they're doing some kind of government work and everything, and they, Who knows? It's worth asking.
Well, listen, if 50,000 a mile in the current cycle for maintenance mix, right? I think there's around 8 miles in Woolwich roughly, I can't remember, but 8 miles of 127, and whatever mileage you have, $400,000, right? So obviously, anything that we could find, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, you're talking, they throw billions of dollars at B&W all the time. I mean, that $400,000 would be postage, you know?
I mean, an immediate thing I can see is a really stopgap measure for Woolwich and Dresden is if there's some way to come up with X amount of money, and I'm not talking millions, and somebody went up and they literally widened the pavement, 2 or 3 feet in some of these bad areas. So sure, take an excavator, take a cutout base and surface it, bring it up the road. Then when you do your maintenance mix, you go out 2 or 3 more feet in the curves, right? When we're not, I mean,
Do you think it's rock portion out there, or?
I'd have to look.
you want to go for a ride sometime, you're taking you for a
See,
ride.
we're just curious about our right of way, what we own.
Oh no, you're in the right of way. You're well within the 4. We're only talking 2 or 3 feet off the pavement. This is well within what you grade or do. It's just that there are areas though where you said it, and you're right. When trailers leave the road, tracking of the trailer of the trucks, or you meet somebody and you get over. And Dresden has many too. When you go up through before 197.
Oh, way up on 127.
Yeah,
Way
sorry,
up.
they have-
But the quarry area,
Oh, that's-
Well,
yeah.
it's horrible.
Yeah, what we were
It's
hoping
terrible.
for is something we can bring back to the people. We're not going to walk out of here with millions, and we all knew we weren't going to walk out with full reconstruction. But if there's just some way that somebody, you get 200,000.
Something positive to
Yeah,
negative.
so you've got 200,000 for ditching and improvements on 127 this year, or whatever, 190, and then 200 on River Road. And that's what I saw in the workplace,
Yes.
right? And so it's like, geez, is there any way in the world that $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 can't pick a few of these spots, and one is by Fred Carl's up on that curve, you know what I'm talking about, right?
Well, maybe that, but that's too far away from the.
I mean, could we have
Yeah.
maintenance
No,
when
it is.
they're out there ditching, figure out if there are areas
I can
that,
have a conversation with them to see if they can identify any of those areas.
Yeah, and we'd love to meet with them. We're not gonna pick the whole road,
Yeah.
but before 128 there's a spot,
Well,
there was.
if any of you 3 people went down a couple of times
Mhm.
and just looked all the way up
Yeah.
as you're driving,
yeah.
you will easily see where
I
there's a
Yeah,
whole
but
bunch of roads.
that's not fair,
What's
that's
that?
Beth, what
I
are
just
you
came
did?
Right, well, right now they're working and all that.
Yeah,
but you
no,
must-
but I mean, I just came all the way from Dresden down.
Yeah, but you must see, I mean, the road, sure, it's fine in some
Yeah.
places, you're right, some places you didn't need to pave it. I mean, that's not true, but.
Yeah,
in
it
other-
needs
It's
patience.
just not bad.
Yeah.
In other areas, when you cross the Dresden Woolwich line, and you start around that curve, and you come up over the old Lake Colby Road right there, right?
all right
There are
there.
just,
Yeah.
I can think of Woolwich as probably 8 or 10 areas where they're not long, 200, 100 feet, 200 feet, 50 feet, whatever it is. If they were 3 feet, not on both sides, but on the wrong side, if you will, right?
Yeah.
You see, like years ago when Nicky Stofan and all those guys were there, I worked on the roads too in my lifetime through the 80s and 90s, and they would come down and say, well, is there any way we can do something here? Not major
Right.
improvements, but there's
The
gotta be-
maintenance. It's
Yeah,
just the
because when you're done
maintenance.
paving, when you're done paving and overlaying, you leave town. A month later, it's already either slid or
Right.
broke off.
Already
Not the
happened.
whole road, but and
Pieces.
Well, like the guy said a long time ago, it's politics, it's around the building.
yeah,
That's all it is,
yeah,
gives you a ride.
yeah.
Yeah.
There's no strength to it,
Correct.
and there's no long life to it.
There's no more.
Yeah.
So I think, as the crews are down there prepping the road for
Yeah.
pavement next season, we'll have them take a look at some various spots
They
that.
reach out if
That
you
would
want.
be great.
We won't give you too big a list, but anyway.
All right. Well, thanks for coming.
Sure.
We
Yeah,
do
thank
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, I appreciate
I think this is my second time in this room.
At least, yeah.
It won't be my last time in my tenure at DOT.
And Eloise sends her regrets. She
Okay.
had another thing to attend. I apologize for being late.
Oh, no worries.
A quick question outside of this.
Mm-hmm.
The Dresden Bridge across the Eastern
Okay.
River, I know they did an inspection to that. We've not heard a thing. Are you the right?
We can
you
find
answer
out.
those questions?
We
That
don't
would be
know,
great.
not off the top of our heads,
Okay.
but
It's
they don't trust me to inspect
Someone
bridges.
has
So we inspect
I
it
can tell
every
you
2
that.
years.
Pardon?
So if
We
you want-
inspect that bridge
We
every
take
2 years.
127.
And they were
127,
just there
so I can't
inspecting
turn.
and
Yeah.
a cross beam had broken.
Yeah.
They removed
Okay.
it.
You live in
And
Dresden?
then they came back
Yeah,
and looked
it's-
at it,
it's-
but
Okay.
we have no idea.
Yeah.
I can find
I
out.
think
That's
that's
what
a-
we
yeah.
appreciate.
Yep, do you want me to send it up to Allison?
Yeah, and you can email it to me.
Okay, so Dresden Bridge,
Yeah.
Yeah, Eastern River, yeah, that's a,
since my
That's
work
bad.
phones.
You're talking 27 over the Eastern River.
197.
Oh,
One
190.
There is no that will
Oh, yeah.
go on the bridge.
Oh, yeah, no, that's,
We got a
yeah.
couple of things we.
Do you remember when Susan
that's
Collins
being-
came down to check out the bridge? And she crossed the bridge in a car at the same time, a big truck was coming the other way? See, that's what you need to impress people with. Show them some of the.
On
benefits.
197?
Yes,
Okay.
Yeah, no.
right,
It's-
that blinking light if you took a look.
Yep.
Yeah, right.
Yep.
Middle
Gotcha.
bridge.
We'll have to
The
go.
middle.
That's right, middle.
It's scheduled for replacement in 26.
Oh, it is, is it, okay,
If it
so
makes
we
it
were
that
told
way.
it was later than that, at one point.
That's what the system's showing right now, I just looked.
Wasn't it just yesterday they had down to one, they closed it for about, it was.
She said there was a beam, something.
Yeah, there was an
Yeah.
issue there that they, I believe they've taken care of. but-
Yeah.
Yeah, I would-
Let,
I mean,
let
if-
Megan check with
I
our
will.
bridge maintenance engineer.
If there's anything that would ever be a danger, we would close the
All we
bridge.
wanted.
So,
Well,
our,
Let her know, I mean.
yes, I will, I'll let Allison
Yes.
know. Our bridge inspectors are,
For a refueling station, we really didn't.
I trust them. Again, they don't let me do that type of work because,
So real quickly with you,
Yes,
you must have heard the town of Woolwich wrote the letter of concern
that's
about the
huge.
quarry consideration.
Yes.
That, we did that, if you recall, in the letter, we did not take a position of yes or no on the quarry.
correct.
We took a position of
Hi,
concern.
good to see you.
Thank you very much.
Just talk to you soon.
Nice
Nice to meet you.
Nice meeting you, nice meeting you.